No taxpayer wants to be on the wrong side of the law, and hence GST notices are something that is dreaded by all taxpayers. Receiving a GST notice means that you did something wrong, such as not file your GST returns on time, or have not paid taxes, or have claimed excess ITC, or it could be some other reason altogether. In today's video, I'll explain all about GST notices and take you through common reasons why taxpayers receive GST notices, the types of GST notices, and what happens when you don't respond to a notice. Hello and welcome. I am AJ from Clear, from the makers of Clear Tax. It is India's largest tax and financial services platform. Clear serves more than 3,000 large enterprises and more than 4 lakh growing businesses. If you would like to get clear explanation of updates relating to GST, e-invoicing, e-way bills and more, then please do subscribe to our channel. Notices under GST law are communications by the GST authorities. They are sent to remind or caution taxpayers of any defaults being noticed, specifically for not following the GST laws. In other cases, notices can be sent out just to collect more information from the taxpayer. A notice can be called by different names like show cause notice, SCN, scrutiny notice, or the demand notice, depending upon each case or the purpose or gravity of default or action required from the taxpayer. The common grounds for receiving GST notice are lapses on the part of the taxpayer, such as not registering under GST when required under law, non-filing or delaying filing of GST returns, non-payment of GST, short payment of GST, or excess input tax credit claims, etc. A taxpayer must promptly act or reply to notices within the time limit specified in such notice. Any failure to do so can land the taxpayer in a legal suit. Now, let me take you through some of the common reasons why you could receive a GST notice. Number 1. Mismatch in details reported between GSTR1 and GSTR3B. Number 2. Differences in input tax credit claims made in the GSTR3B compared to GSTR2B. Number 3. Delay in filing of GSTR1 or GSTR3B consecutively for more than 6 months. Number 4. Inconsistent declaration in GSTR1 and the e-way bill portal. Number 5. Non-reduction of prices due to reduced GST rates with effect from date notified by CBIC. Here, a default is committed by the taxpayer for not passing on the benefit of the reduced prices to the ultimate consumers. Number 6. Non-payment of GST or the short payment of GST with or without the intent to defraud. Number 7. A GST refund is wrongly made with or without intention to defraud. Number 8. Input tax credit is wrongly availed or utilized. Number 9. Where a business is liable but has failed to obtain GST registration and not discharged the tax and other liabilities under the GST Act. Number 10. Inconsistencies in reporting of exports in the GSTR1 with the information available on IceGate portal. Number 11. Where an information return was required to be furnished before the tax authorities but not submitted within the time limit stipulated. Please note that all of the above are examples of why you could receive a notice under the GST law, and this list is exhaustive. Hence, if you have not followed the laws laid down in Central Goods and Service Tax Act or rules, you could receive a notice from the tax department for one of these reasons or any other. Now, let's take a look at quick guide on the different types of notices that can be received by the taxpayers, action to be taken by such taxpayers, and time limit to respond to notice. First, let's learn about GSTR3A notice. It is a notice issued to defaulters, that is, non-filers of any GST returns such as GSTR3B or GSTR4 to GSTR10. Taxpayer has to file the particular GST returns that are yet to be filed along with the late fee for delay and interest on the GST liability, if any, within 15 days from the date of receiving the notice. If the taxpayer does not respond to the notice, tax is assessed to the best judgment using the information available with the department. Further, the taxpayer will be liable to pay interest and penalties as applicable. Now, let's see what is CMP05 notice. It is a show cause notice questioning the eligibility of the taxpayer to be a composition dealer. Taxpayer must submit Form CMP06 and justify reasons as to why the taxpayer should continue to be eligible for the composition scheme or appear before the GST authority that issued notice within 15 days of receipt of the notice. If the taxpayer has not responded to the notice, he has to pay penalty stipulated under the Act, and an order will be passed in Form CMP07 denying the benefit of composition scheme. Now, moving on to REG03 notice. It is issued at the time of verifying the application for GST registration or amendment or cancellation of registration. This notice can be sent seeking additional information or clarification or documents for the information provided in the application. The taxpayer must reply in letter in REG04 with clarification or information or appear before the GST authority that issued the notice within 7 working days from the date of receiving the notice. Non-response will lead to rejection of such application, and the applicant will be informed electronically in REG05 form. Coming to REG17 notice, it is a show cause notice issued mentioning why should the GST registration not be cancelled for the reasons laid down in the notice. The taxpayer should reply in letter in REG18 with the reasons for non-cancellation of GST registration or appear before the GST authority that issued the notice within 7 working days from the date of receiving the notice. Non-response will lead to cancellation of GST registration in Form REG19. Now, let's see what is REG23 notice. It is a show cause notice for rejection of revocation of cancellation of GST registration based on the reasons laid down in the notice. The taxpayer should write a reply letter in REG24 or appear before the GST authority that issued notice within 7 working days from the date of receiving the notice. If the taxpayer does not respond to the notice, the case will be decided ex parte on the basis of available records and on merits. REG27 notice. It is a show cause notice for cancellation of provisional registration. The taxpayer should reply by applying in REG26 to show cause as to why the provisional registration granted shall not be cancelled. There is no time limit prescribed for this notice. If the taxpayer does not respond, the department can cancel provisional registration in REG28 form. I hope you have found this video useful so far. If you did, then please type in a yes in the comment section below. It's important to know the different types of GST notices so that if you ever receive a notice, you will know what exactly to do. Let's move on to some more important notices under GST. Moving on to PCT03 notice. It is a show cause notice for disqualification based on misconduct by the GST practitioner. The GST practitioner must reply within the time prescribed in the show cause notice as to why the certificate of enrollment granted should not be rejected for the reasons in the notice. The order for rejection of enrollment of a GST practitioner will be issued in case of non-response to the notice. RFD08 is a show cause notice as to why the GST refund must not be made to the applicant or taxpayer. The applicant must reply in letter in RFD09 within 15 days of receipt of notice. The non-response to notice will lead to passing an order in RFD06 for rejecting the GST refund application. ASMT02 is a notice for seeking additional information or clarification or documents for provisional assessment. The taxpayer must reply in ASMT03 along with the documents sought within the time prescribed in the show cause notice. The non-response will lead to rejection of application for provisional assessment. Moving on to ASMT06 notice. It is a notice for seeking additional information or clarification or documents for final assessment. The taxpayer must reply within the prescribed time limit along with the information or documents sought. The consequence of non-response would be ASMT07 can be passed without considering the views of the taxpayer being assessed. Now, let's go through ASMT010. It is a notice for intimating discrepancies in the GST return after scrutiny. The taxpayer must reply in ASMT11 giving reasons for discrepancies in GST returns within the time limit prescribed in the show cause notice. The consequence of non-response would be the department might proceed to assess the taxpayer based on information at hand, which may lead to prosecution and penalty. Moving on to ASMT14 notice. It is a show cause notice for assessment under section 63, which covers assessment of unregistered persons who were supposed to register or where the registration has been cancelled and where the person was liable to pay tax. The taxpayer must reply stating why a tax liability along with interest and penalty not be created and appear before the GST authority that issued the notice within the time limit prescribed in the notice. The non-response will lead to assessment order in ASM 15, which may not favor the SSC. ADT 01 is a notice for conducting audit by tax authority under section 65. The taxpayer should attend in person as directed in the notice and produce records as required for the audit within the time prescribed in the notice. If not, it is presumed that taxpayer does not possess the books of accounts and proceedings will be initiated by the department. Now, let's see what is RVN 01 notice. It is a notice under section 108 of the CGST Act issued to the taxpayer by the revision authority before passing the revision order of the appeals, giving the opportunity of being heard. Taxpayer must reply within prescribed time or appear before the GST authority, passing the order of the revision on a given date and time within 7 working days from the date of service of the notice. If the taxpayer does not respond, that case will be decided ex parte on the basis of available records and on merits. A notice of inquiry by Directorate of Anti-Profiteering will be issued where the supplier has not passed on benefit of ITC or reduced GST rates to the recipient or consumer. All interested parties will get a notice asking for more details. The taxpayer and all interested parties must cooperate in the proceedings and provide evidence within the time limit prescribed in the notice. If not, proceedings will be initiated ex parte on the basis of available evidence. DRC-01 is a show cause notice issued for demanding tax paid shortly or not paid with or without an intent to defraud. It is served along with statement of details in DRC-02. The taxpayer must reply in DRC-03 for paying the amount of tax demanded in the notice along with the interest and penalty, if any. Further, DRC-06 is used to reply to the show cause notice within 30 days from the receipt of the notice. The non-response from the taxpayer will lead to passing an order with higher penalty or prosecution within 3 years from the due date of annual return for the particular financial year for which tax is demanded. Do you know what happens if you do not respond to a notice under GST? I'll get to that soon. But before that, let me tell you about a few more notices that cover the auction of goods and recoveries from third persons. DRC 10 and DRC 17 notices are issued for auction of goods under Section 79(1)(b) and Section 79(1)(d) of CGST Act. The taxpayer should be able to pay the outstanding demand as per DRC 09 within the time limit prescribed in the notice, but before the sale. Note that the last day of the bid or the last day of the auction cannot be before 15 days from the date of issue of the notice. The non-response will lead to auction and selling of the goods. DRC 11 notice is issued to a successful bidder to pay the full bid amount within 15 days from the date of auction. The non-response from successful bidder will lead to re-auction of the goods. Moving on to DRC 13, it is a notice issued for recovery of outstanding tax from a third person. The third person must deposit the amount specified in the notice and reply in DRC 14. There is no time limit specified here. If the third person does not respond, he will be deemed to be a defaulter in respect of the amount specified in the notice and can be subject to prosecution and penalties. DRC 16 is a notice issued for attachment and sale of immovable property or movable goods or shares under Section 79 of CGST Act. A taxpayer receiving this notice is prohibited from transferring or creating a charge on the said goods in any way, and any transfer or charge created shall be invalid. There is no time limit specified here. Any contravention to this notice can invite prosecution and or penalties. So, these are the important notices under GST. I recommend that you save this video to your watch list so that if you ever get a GST notice, you can come back and refer to it and find out what exactly you need to do. Section 169 of the CGST Act states the different means of communicating the notices under GST. Any other mode of sending out a notice will not be valid under the law. Number 1. Hand delivering the notice, either directly or by a messenger, including a courier, to the taxpayer or his representative. Number 2. By registered post or a speed post or a courier with an acknowledgement due addressed to the last known place of business of the taxpayer. Number 3. Communication to the email address provided by the taxpayer. Number 4. Making it available on the GST portal after logging in. Number 5. By publication in a newspaper being circulated in the locality of the taxpayer based on the last known residential address or last known place of business. Number 6. If none of the above means is practical, then by affixing it in some prominent place at the taxpayer's last known place of business or residence. If this is not found as practical for any reason, then the authorities can fix a copy of notice on the board of the office of the concerned officer or authority who passed the order or issued the notice. A reply to a GST notice can be submitted online on the GST portal. A taxpayer can use the digital signature or e-signature of the authorized person of such taxpayer or themselves. Where the payment of tax and interest is required, such liability must be paid in the requisite form and manner. After payment is made, the reply letter in the requisite form must be submitted before the tax authority who sent the notice. In the case of no reply to a GST notice within the stipulated time limit, the taxpayer will be liable for penalties and further proceedings under the GST law. Have you checked out the Clear GST solution yet? It is India's most trusted GST software and offers users so many exclusive features that assures 100% accurate GST returns. With Clear GST, you can connect with hundreds of ERPs and import data error-free. File all returns from GSTR 1 to GSTR 9C and more, made at least 3x faster. Match 6,000 invoices in a minute and detect 100% tax credits with AI-powered matching. Get 2 to 7% tax savings with smart reconciliation and reports. Get multiple validations done at each step, reviewed by over 60 experts. Choose from variety of smart analytical reports on tab and much more. If you would like a demo of Clear GST filing software, please click on the link in the description below and enter your contact details. One of our product experts will schedule a demo at your convenience. We are now at the end of this video. I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. Also, please don't forget to click on the link in the description below to explore the Clear GST solution for quick and error-free GST returns. Thank you.